be completed as dialed. Please consult your directory and call again, or ask your operator for assistance. This is a recording. Be completed as dialed. Please consult your directory and call again, or ask your operator for assistance. This is a recording. Be completed as dialed. Please consult your directory and call again, or ask your operator for assistance. This is a recording. Be completed as dialed. Please consult your directory and complete as dialed.
Register.
Be completed as
Welcome to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code, followed by the pound sign. To join the conference as the host, press star. Otherwise, please enter your host password, followed by the pound sign. At the tone, please speak your name. There are 1 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host. For a menu of available commands, press star pound.
So we're ready? Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to call the meeting for April for WRCOG to order, so please vote if you're here.
Hold on. Hold your horse.
So just to confirm, because I don't have it in the system yet, is City of Canyon Lake present? No. District 1, District 2, and Eastern Municipal Water District. Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum. I'll ask everyone to please stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Rita Rogers of the City of Paris.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any public comment?
I have no requests.
Okay. Next, we have our minutes from our March 5th meeting. Are there any questions or comments? If none, we'll take a motion. It's been moved by the City of Waldemar, seconded by the City of San Jacinto. Please vote.
There he is.
City of Moreno Valley, please vote.
Motion passed 20 yes, no zeros, and 2 abstentions. Next, we have our consent calendar. Are there any items to be pulled? Seeing none, we have a motion by the City of Lake of Elsinore, seconded by the City of Eastvale. Please vote.
City of Beaumont, please vote. Thank you, ma'am.
Motion passed 22-0. Next, we'll go to our information items or reports. No. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. Okay, we'll move to item number 6. First, we'll have our PACE programs activities update by Casey.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Casey Daly, Director of Energy and Environmental Programs. WRCOG's PACE program, just as a reminder, provides financing for energy-efficient renewable energy, water conservation, and seismic improvements that are repaid on the property tax bill. Today we have a PACE program update, some required revisions to our program report and handbooks, as well as a public hearing. So to date, WRCOG's PACE programs have completed over 84,000 projects statewide at a value just under $1.8 billion. As you can see, solar and HVAC continue to lead the way. Wanted to just highlight a quick project from our newest commercial PACE provider, Greenworks. As you might recall, Greenworks came live in January, and pleased to report that they have closed their first commercial project in Lathrop, valued at $1.7 million. The project consists of high-efficiency lighting and a cool roof. So we're really excited to showcase this, their first project kind of out of the gate. So it's happy to see them underway. Next, we have some minor changes to our program report and handbook to expressly acknowledge and comply with the 2 new pieces of legislation that were passed in 2017. As you may recall, we've discussed both SB 242 and AB 1284. SB 242 codifies several additional consumer protections, and AB 1284 creates a regulatory framework in which the Department of Business Oversight would have oversight over all of the PACE providers. Staff is requesting the Executive Committee approve the revised language to the overview statement for both the WRCOG HERO and California HERO program reports, as well as all the residential PACE program handbooks. And then finally today we need to conduct a public hearing for the City of Pleasanton. In February, the Executive Committee adopted Resolution 04-18, setting the public hearing for March. However, due to the notice not being published in time in their county, we had to reschedule it for today. So with that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions, and you can see our requested actions.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments? And I have nothing on my screen, so if you need to talk, there's nothing showing. Yeah. Okay, no questions or comments? Then we'll open the public hearing. Do we have any comments?
Do we have any callers online for the California Hero Program? I hear none.
If we have none, then we'll open it. I think we have a motion by the City of Wildomar, seconded by the City of San Jacinto. Please vote.
District 5, Supervisor Ashley.
Yay.
Speak loudly into your microphone.
There you go.
That operator error that made it happen.
Let's see if it does again when I go back. So I'm trying to get back. I'm not back.
It will be. Yes, you're going to come back.
Motion passed.
Okay.
21 with 1 no vote.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have a report from the League of California Cities. Aaron? It seems like it's short.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. The legislature is back from recess and in full swing, so bear with me the rest of this month because I think you'll be hearing from me a lot. So just a couple of items. We have our Legislative Action Day coming up on April 18th. I know some of you have already signed up, but if you haven't and you want to come up and join us to lobby, I would encourage all of you to do so. It's free to attend other than obviously travel costs. We also have our policy committees coming up next week. I know a lot of you sit on some of those policy committees. So that will be kind of the first step in us taking some of the positions on areas that we don't have existing policy on. One other item before I go into some of the legislation, if any of you are starting to fund projects with SB1 dollars, if you could start advertising those projects, at least just letting the public know that SB1 funds are being used, it would be really helpful for us, especially since Proposition 69 is going to be on the ballot in June. We just need to make sure people understand that these dollars are actually being spent on transportation. So if you will have projects moving forward, if you could let me know, I'd really, really appreciate that. One other item, I know I've sent some information out on this. I just really want to make sure that you are all paying attention to it. There is an initiative that they're gathering signatures to get on the November ballot. It's the California Business Roundtable measure that would require a 2/3 vote for any sort of tax increase or fees. I know some of you, the fees part is really important for your cities to look at, but I know that some of you are going to be seeking some revenue increasing measures in the future. You really need to look at this because it would be retroactive to the beginning of this year. So if you have something that you're planning to do in November, this could be on the ballot in November. If it passes, which I think it would if it does actually make it on the ballot, it could jeopardize something that your city might be pursuing. So really make sure you're all looking at that. It's an initiative, so it's not a bill. It's the California Business Roundtable that's supporting it. So I do have information. If you want me to email it to you, I can do that. I know I've sent it out to all the managers too, so everybody has that. Voter approval and a council approval, depending on what the actual item is. So there's different requirements, but I have a list of how it would be applied. I can send it to I can send it to you and then send it to everybody as well. Okay, legislation. I know that one bill I've been talking about every time I've been up here, it's AB 1912. It has to do with JPAs. This bill is actually going to be being heard in committee on April 18th, so on our Legislative Action Day. I think that could be some additional motivation for all of you. I think I would encourage all of you to come up and then go to that hearing and give your testimony, especially if you're already planning to be in Sacramento. But we will have a sample bill up this week and an action alert that we'll be sending out. So we're going to need all of your cities to really be on top of this one, because this is going to be a really difficult bill for us to kill. Just a reminder of what it does. It would require both, it's retroactive and prospective for joint and several liability for all retirement-related obligations to any current or former JPA member since inception. So if your city is involved in any sort of JPAs, this could have a significant impact on you. Another bill that came out is AB 3037 CHU. This is actually a redevelopment bill, so it brings back a sort of redevelopment bill. We haven't weighed in yet. We will. It's a little bit tricky because we do have some concerns with the way that this bill is currently written, but we also don't want to come out and say that we oppose it. It's not likely that the governor will support anything this year. I guess there's always a slight chance since he's in his last year, but just know that we are watching that one, and we're intentionally not saying anything about it in terms of sort of a letter, a public letter at this point. There is a couple other bills that I know I've also mentioned. AB 2268, this is a priority bill for us. This would restore the funding for inhabited annexation. So back SB 89 that took the funding from the new cities. It also took funding from cities that had some inhabited annexation. So this would restore that funding. I want to encourage all of you to support this. It does give some funding to most of our cities, Temecula I know in particular. Another bill kind of along the same lines is AB 2491. Back again with SB 89 when we lost all that funding. It basically really prevented any future incorporations of cities, any new cities. This would fix that and allow for funding, so it would make it easier for there to be future cities. So that's AB 2491. Please support it. And then AB 2268 is the inhabited annexation bill. Lastly, I did want to bring up, it's AB 1749. I know I've mentioned this at some of our league events, but it's kind of a politically sensitive bill. But basically what this would do is provide workers' compensation benefits to any off-duty peace officer if they get injured in California or outside California, anywhere basically in the world, if they respond to a situation like what happened in Las Vegas. We're really hoping that this bill will be narrowed because they could be in Europe and something happens, and then your city would be on the hook to provide those workers' compensation benefits. So it could be very expensive. Hard to oppose something like this, but definitely would encourage you to talk to your legislators about maybe, like I said, narrowing the bill. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. I will get that CBRT information out again to all of you, but hopefully you can all come to Legislative Action Day. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a question in the city of Eastvale.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks. I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but has the league taken any position on SB 827? It's the transit housing bill.
Yeah, we're opposed. It's definitely one of our hot bills. We have sample letters available for all of you on our website. It's on one of our hot bills this year.
Okay, thanks.
I could actually just mention one other bill that I neglected to mention. It's AB 2123 by Cervantes. This would allow a city that gets a letter to go to districts. If you plan to go to districts right now, you get 90 days to do so. This would give you another 90 days, so you'd have a total of 180 days. So we're supporting it. We don't have a letter up yet, but we are in support, and hopefully all of you can support that as well because it is one of our legislators carrying it.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have the Rivco Connect presentation by Riverside County Broadband Initiative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jennifer Ward, Director of Government Relations. I'll be introducing this item. This is a follow-up item to some discussion we had at our agency visioning session back in October at Western Municipal Water District. One of the many items that came up during our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats discussion was the need for regional broadband and sort of what the existing efforts to address that challenge and opportunity are right now. And so we've invited the county here today to present on their countywide broadband initiative. And I'm pleased to introduce Tom Mullen, who many of you know. He's actually has a new title for the county, which is Chief Data Officer. So we're happy to have him here today. It's just a testimony to how the county is prioritizing data, broadband, all of these different communications, technologies, and strategies for the region. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tom.
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about what we're working on behalf of the County of Riverside and all of our citizens with the Rivco Connect broadband initiative. I've prepared a bit of a PowerPoint, if we can, thank you. Here we go. We're up on it. What I wanted to walk through is a bit of background as to what is this, go through some lessons learned and what we intend to do going forward. This will be a relatively short, brief update presentation, but I'd be happy to speak with any of you one-on-one or any of your cities one-on-one for more background or further detail or to explore any options that you wish to consider and further discuss. So to begin, Rivco Connect is an initiative really to determine the feasibility of establishing a public-private partnership to bring universal broadband to the County of Riverside, and this is important, without direct taxpayer dollars. We have seen some jurisdictions around the country, most recently the City County of San Francisco is contemplating the build-out of a publicly funded broadband infrastructure for the entire municipality, inclusive of connections to all residents, businesses, and institutions. But that is a multi-billion-dollar effort that will be funded through bonding initiatives and thus taxpayer dollars. What we attempted to do was take a different route. We did not wish to take on additional obligations on behalf of all of us, quite frankly, but rather we wish to try to facilitate the broadband providers to come to Riverside County now and build out what they do, provide that infrastructure, provide that broadband, that internet connectivity that we all need for our cities, our residents, and most importantly, our businesses to thrive. Our Rivco Connect program, really initiative, happened to be the largest locally led multi-jurisdictional effort in the nation. We have worked to try to facilitate really bringing this broadband infrastructure to all 87 incorporated and unincorporated communities. Honestly, I didn't realize that we had 87 different defined places, but we do. Those are all of, obviously, your cities, but they are also all the census-defined places throughout the unincorporated parts of the county. There's a lot of them, and we are spread out quite a bit. So what have we done, I guess, is probably just as important as anything. This process began in early 2016. We began by creating a broadband policy and a corresponding master plan. We published those documents in the fall of 2016, shared them with this body and all bodies throughout the county. We asked for the adoption of resolutions of support, which were provided by the County of Riverside, you and your cities, through this organization, as well as the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, as well as some of the cities directly. In addition, we had more than one tribal partner sign on and continue to work with those individuals as well. In late 2016, early 2017, we worked to share those resolutions of support really throughout the entire community. We included not only our governmental partners, but also those in the economic development realm through the Inland Empire Economic Partnership and the Coachella Valley Economic Partnership, talking to chambers of commerce where they were willing to share, speaking with our state legislators and federal legislators, sharing what we are trying to accomplish on behalf of really our entire community. And I am thankful to share that all of you and all of them were very supportive. It was great to be part of this initiative on behalf of really all of us to try and drive toward a common goal. I can tell you that I haven't met anybody that says no, they don't want more connectivity. We need less connectivity in our community. That just doesn't happen, thankfully. We are all seeking to try to create smart pathways and smart communities and try to lift up our communities, whether they're students or whether they're folks that are re-entering the workforce or trying to change jobs or simply through personal enrichment and fulfillment. All of us are seeking those common goals, and we work together to try and push this forward. We also worked with the Southern California Edison and Riverside Public Utilities and our Inland Empire Regional Broadband Consortium. These three entities, in particular Southern California Edison, have tremendous pathways and fiber throughout our communities. This was one of the lessons that we had learned. We knew that they had some, but we didn't know the extent. They now have an entire business team that is looking at promoting and creating contracts for the use of their excess fiber capacity that exists throughout Riverside County and, quite frankly, throughout all of Southern California. Riverside Public Utilities has taken formal actions through the Riverside City Council to make their infrastructure, their excess fiber, also available, not only to this project, but to the business community and to the ISP, the Internet Service community, to try and maximize that asset that exists within the city. Lastly, I'll just say that our Inland Empire Regional Broadband Consortium really is focusing on closing the digital divide. I have the great privilege of working with that consortium, which represents all of Riverside and San Bernardino counties, are working every day to try and educate folks on the use of computers, get computers into their hands so you've got a computer, you get some training, and then ultimately get them a low-cost connection should they need that assistance. If they don't need that assistance and don't qualify for the programs, we also want to be able to connect them with the available services with our incumbent providers throughout the county of Riverside. As we move this project forward in advance of issuance of our RFP, which was really not a traditional request for products or proposals, but more a request for participants, we met with the telecommunications industry. We met with the providers. We met with our three primary incumbents, AT&T, Charter Spectrum, and Frontier. We met with those that provide business class fiber solutions throughout the community, including Synesis and Zio, including folks like Wilcom, Level 3, who now has merged with CenturyLink, whom we also met with. We met with nearly a dozen plus providers who are currently somewhere in Riverside County. We also met with those that are not here to encourage them to come and look and see why aren't you here and what is the opportunities that we can provide. We issued the RFP, the request for participants, on April 3rd. We went through multiple rounds of questions and answers in a formal process with the telecommunications industry. We closed the RFP process September 28th of last year. We had received 8 proposals from teams as well as individual companies. We had put together an evaluation team that included the participation from 4 of our cities, as well as one of the water districts, as well as the county. There were 9 of us on the evaluation committee, and we met with the proposers. We went through subsequent rounds of additional clarifying questions to try and resolve what is it that's being proposed, and how does that match with our global effort here, our vision of bringing broadband infrastructure to Riverside County at no additional taxpayer cost. What we learned through this entire process was that the ISP market is not necessarily interested in committing new local efforts without publicly provided funding. Now, that is not to say that they are not interested in business, because they most certainly are. However, in order for them to take on an initiative as we had structured, they needed public funding or beyond the commitments that we were willing to make. You will see other jurisdictions that have successfully built out, and those generally have included funding provided by either municipal utilities or direct funding from the local government. We found that the ISPs are not necessarily interested in entering into public-private partnerships that obligate them to new precedents that set a national precedent, really, or have implications that are beyond the jurisdiction in which they're looking to work in. We are talking about some of the largest companies and largest telecommunications providers in the world. And the actions that they would take in Riverside County would have an impact on the East Coast and around the nation. There is concern about, reasonably, about setting that precedent, and that's one of the lessons that we have learned as a result of going through this process. But we also found out that we have tremendous assets throughout our community, assets that can be leveraged by existing providers or any new providers that wish to come in. And that's an important item for you to understand and for you probably to become more educated on. And in that vein, I'd be happy to share more information as to what I have that might be specific to your city down the road. So what are we doing? Where do we go from here? We are going to continue to advocate for high-speed broadband services throughout the county. Charter Spectrum is in the process of rolling out gigabit internet service throughout the nation in 2018. Specifically, that's coming here to Riverside County and to our communities sooner rather than later. They have shared that it's their expectation to begin that process as early as this summer, if not before. It's happening now, and you will begin to see customers having near gigabit speeds in their communities probably within the next couple of months. It's a big deal, and it aligns with what we were proposing. But it's interesting to watch the actions of a very large national provider become aligned with what it is we're trying to do here in Riverside County. We're going to continue to seek out other opportunities that are really looking at smaller deployments, things that might be specific to one of your jurisdictions, something to address particular need or interest that you have in your community, whether that's for a housing community, whether that's for public housing, whether that's for a business park or a particular business that's in your community. If there is something that you are trying to get connection to and are struggling with it, feel free to give me a call and I'll share what information I have. Unfortunately, I don't have a magic wand, so I can't just make it happen, but I can share with you what I know and the connections that we've made with the industry, and I'll see what I can do to help you make a solution happen in your community. Obviously, we're going to continue to align the county with like-minded communities throughout the nation, and really, there are a lot of them. I've talked about what we're doing with the Broadband Consortium, but we're also heavily working with the California Emerging Technologies Fund, which is a statewide organization that works with all 11 consortiums, the Inland Empire being one of those. We will continue to work with our economic partners as well, in the Inland Empire Economic Partnership as well as the Coachella Valley Economic Partnership. And that's important because of what they are learning and hearing from you and from the business community as to what their needs are. We also will be working with a national organization called Next Century Cities, who advocates for smart communities throughout the country. There are other organizations and other associations that I'm sure we've all heard from over time to time about smart initiatives or smart actions or rewards or processes that they are all looking to track. We are interested in continuing to promote the County of Riverside and all of our communities as a destination for business and for like-minded residents. We are excited about the progress that we've made, and we are hopeful and optimistic about the future. We think that, or we know now that broadband services above and beyond what is available today are coming to our residents through the Charter Spectrum rollout, and we are aware of additional services coming online nearly weekly these days for our businesses as well. The other important component that I want to share that I didn't put on a slide necessarily, and that's our actions to continue to close the digital divide. Riverside County, in partnership with multiple nonprofits, quite frankly, have a computer donation program that I would be happy to talk more about with any of you. We have the capacity to take on additional business from your jurisdictions to refurbish and quite frankly, handle your surplus IT equipment. What we try to do is turn as much of that into donatable product as we can, and we do that. We've donated several thousand computers now back into the community strictly from what has come through the County of Riverside. Additionally, we have partnered with the City of Riverside through Smart Riverside and are now processing the surplus IT equipment coming out of the City of Riverside. And we'd be happy to take on that and have that type of conversation with any of you in your jurisdictions as well. With that, I will stop talking and ask if there are any questions or comments that any of you may have.
Thank you, Tom. We do have a request. Dr. White?
Yes, I would like to say to our presenter that I'm the ex officio member of the team here, so I represent Riverside County Schools. And my question to you is, what have you done to engage the educational community and also publishers, since many books are coming out online, you know, Chromebooks? So what has been your involvement with the educational community?
Sure. So the Chromebooks, we haven't had any direct interaction on the Chromebooks. However, on the education side, we've worked with Alvord Unified School District as well as Riverside Unified School District on curriculum training. We have a new program that's, I believe, rolling out here in just a couple of weeks as well with Valverde, where they are going out and training folks on the use of computers. We are providing donations of computers, and so you get training, you get a computer, and then we're linking them with the low-cost programs that are provided by Charter Spectrum, Frontier, and AT&T. Unfortunately, each of them have their own qualifications requirements for low-cost homes, but they are available and they are established and they are effective. As far as direct connectivity to any of the schools, many of the districts that we spoke with have existing fiber connectivity to many of their campuses. They are commercially sourced contracts. Many of them receive services from a firm called Synesis, which is an outstanding high-quality fiber provider in our community and actually has quite a bit of fiber in the ground throughout Riverside County and throughout Southern California.
I just want to clarify my question too. I'm more interested in your outreach to educational institutions to help with the broadband, because there's an interest that the students would be able to access internet from their homes.
Yes.
And there could be some one-time money that could be utilized in your efforts. So I just want to keep that on your radar.
So I appreciate that, and maybe there's more work that we can do, and we're happy to do that. We've had some conversations with the higher ed and had some conversations with some of the school districts, but not all of the school districts. It's a challenge, as you know, working with as many as we have throughout the community. But if there are particular projects that you're aware of, we're happy to support that and work with them. We're a resource for you to move that forward.
Okay. City of Corona.
Hi, thank you. You mentioned that Spectrum Charter was going to roll out gigabit or near gigabit, and you said fiber and corrected yourself.
Yes.
Are they going to be trying to do that over coax then?
Yes, they are. Yes.
And how fast can they get?
Their advertised speed will be 940 megabits.
Wow. So I assume they'll need special modems at both ends and things like that.
So they've already done all the back-end work to bring it. They have fiber distributed widely throughout their network. They bring it to the neighborhood, and then they're utilizing their existing coax or the old cable network to go from their neighborhood distribution into the homes. It's called digital coax, and it's an evolved technology that's on the market today. Specifically, it's called DOCSIS 3.1. And that allows for that gigabit service to be delivered over their entire network. Their goal, as stated by their chairman, is to reach 50 million customers in 2018 with the gigabit service. That's a big ambition. I wish them luck to do so. I want them to start here in Riverside, though.
Has AT&T figured out a way to get faster on copper?
They continue to deploy their services across their existing network, and new deployments have been on fiber. You see, they took on a large fiber project in 2016 within the city of Los Angeles. City of Los Angeles had gone through a similar effort to request and encourage the build-out of broadband services. AT&T took the impetus to make a commitment to build out, and that's what they're doing now.
Okay. Next, we'll have the City of Beaumont, followed by the City of San Jacinto.
Thank you. I have some logistics questions. So if we are to contribute equipment, do you have a priority list of the types of equipment that might be most valuable to you and some that are of lesser value?
We do. We do have, we put together a checklist that I'll share, and actually we had met with some of the folks on your staff that will specifically get to you on what we had asked for from our communities to share with the providers. They included any fiber that we may have had, any cell site locations like telephone poles or power poles or light poles or buildings. Part of the impetus for this project was a recognition that there is a new cellular network they call 5G coming to all of our communities. And that in building that product out, it will require the installation of more cellular sites that provide a higher density service over a smaller footprint. And so you need more of them in order to reach the type of bandwidth that they're promising that they'll get. By building out that network, you end up laying in a tremendous amount of broadband connectivity throughout the communities. We were advocating that we leverage that build out for additional services to businesses and residents. And so what we had tried to do were identify assets that would encourage folks to get into our neighborhoods, get into our business districts. And so it was from that perspective that we had put together lists that included where were our city or county assets, whether those were buildings or vacant land, any open conduit that we may have had, any fiber in the ground that we may have available for lease. And any other relevant assets or projects that folks were currently working on that made sense to share with the provider community.
Thank you. And that was a great answer to the overall topography and the types of hardware that you would need in geographic locations. When you talk the digital divide, it comes all the way down to somebody sitting in their manufactured home who may not have access to the network. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming you're taking this all the way down to where they would be able to have a computer or laptop in their hands.
Yes.
So you even carry that list down to that level when you do your priorities?
What we did is broke it into actually multiple pieces of a similar project. So to help cross that digital divide at the very local and individual level, we are donating computers through nonprofits out into the communities. We have computers available today to donate. And so if there is a nonprofit organization in your community that is working with that constituency, please provide them my contact information. We'll be happy to have a conversation about getting a donation to them for a specific purpose.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the last question, and I'm not sure you can answer this one, is when you go to look at actually addressing the needs of the community, there's great need to get computers and networking in the hands of students. Mm-hmm. There's also other aspects, too, that are quite needy. Veterans, seniors. Do you actually do sort of a demographic profile of an area like we're all in zones, one of our zones where we can actually see that veterans and seniors, or is that the responsibility of the nonprofits that you try to channel things through?
So we've worked with nonprofits that support seniors, that support veterans, that support school-aged kids, that support folks re-entering the job market, folks that are trying to change jobs, folks that are trying to overcome economic challenges, folks that have physical or mental challenges. We are working with any and all nonprofits that are there to help close that digital divide. And we've left it broad because of the great need and the great variety of constituents that these folks interact with. We have donated to folks inclusive of the Boys and Girls Club, Susan G. Komen Society, to a veterans group, We've donated to libraries to extensively replace computers throughout the library systems. We want to get computers in the hands of those that need them. And then we also want to provide them the information so that they can hopefully sign up for low-cost service if they qualify.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more, and then I will not ask any more after this. But that's a great answer. But I guess my question is, sometimes when we try to connect points, they don't get as connected as well as our intentions are. So you're in the position of working with the service agencies that happen to be in a region, but you're actually the only point that would be able to see if there was an area of a demographic that wasn't getting addressed. In other words, if in my area I don't have anybody and I happen to have somebody, but if I don't have someone who's handling the needs of vets, I wouldn't know that that hole existed in terms of connecting to your program. You are the only one that will know from where you are on the upper level of whether there's connections to all of those demographics. So I'm kind of circling back to the earlier question where I'm asking you to put a level of awareness into when you look at these areas. And if you see that there is not a service agency that is getting at a demographic that you do know from your expertise and your experience has a need, would you try to make sure that we get visibility on that need's not being addressed? Because from the bottom up, sometimes it's hard for us to see it.
I agree, and we're happy to do that. Part of what we're working on is trying to map out at an aggregate level the communities that we have been able to get computers into, so we can begin to get some better visibility to that. Now, there are some countywide organizations that we also work with, including folks from Department of Social Services, including folks from Community Action Partnership, and a nonprofit organization called CapStars that supports community action, so that we can reach out into those communities that don't necessarily come forward because they've got a small community-based group.
Very good.
There are an awful lot of needs throughout our very large county, and we are tackling them one at a time as they come to us, and we've got a waiting list of folks that are asking for computers. I am continually looking to keep folks on that list so that we can continue to process and get those computers out into folks' hands that need them.
Thank you very much.
It's a great program, and I'm encouraged by your desire to help us get it out into Beaumont. So we'll be certainly back with you. Thank you.
Okay. City of San Jacinto.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen, I want to say, first of all, thank you for presenting this. It's very exciting to see this information getting to the people who can actually get it out to our communities. So thank you for that. I'm really excited because while I was in D.C., I made contact with Google. Vice President of Google, who offered to help our community because we're lower income families. We're folks who drive 38 miles one way to work. And so trying to get them jobs locally is very difficult. Working from home on computers and with that high speed would be just what they need to make things happen. So I'm really excited to hear about that. But I also personally work with a group that gets kids that are high-risk kids who are virtually in gangs right now, out of the gangs, off the streets, in boxing rings, that kind of thing. And she's actually starting a program to help them with schools and their parents, educating their parents. And hopefully, I'd like to get with you because the Google partnering with a computer in some type of system that we can get donated, there's something for this small organization. 500 kids, they all have parents, they all have siblings, and getting something that would actually get them an income where they can work from home and actually provide more for their families. This is a huge success and a huge opportunity for us. So I really appreciate it. Please make sure I get your card, and thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you, and we'd be happy to work with you to help facilitate that. I will add, we have had folks that come and work in our program. We've worked with the Department of Social Services and have had some folks employed who have come through their programs to transition from unemployment to employed, whether it's to learn new skills or to simply refine them and improve on their body of work to prepare them for their next opportunity. Additionally, we've had at-risk youth work within our warehouse, work on sorting equipment, learning to take computers apart, learning to put them back together, and we continue to do that. In fact, we've got a new program with a youth group out of Rubidoux that will be starting here, I believe, next week. So we are actively looking for those opportunities as well, to not just make donations, but to encourage them to come in and work with us, to give them a different opportunity than they've had.
And I think that's exactly what they need, because we all like to donate to them and give them a handout, but they really need a hand up, and that's what that does. So I commend you on that, and I'm very excited to see this going on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't see any other questions. I will ask if you're okay with staff providing for the whole committee your contact information for any additional questions.
Happy to do that. Thank you all again.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have an update on our regional streetlight program. Tyler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Executive Committee representatives, my name is Tyler Masters, Program Manager here at WRCOG. I'm here to provide you a quick update on the Regional Streetlight Program, a program that was developed to support interested jurisdictions purchase their streetlights from Southern California Edison and to retrofit those to LED technologies and provide routine operations and maintenance to those systems, reducing jurisdictional utility bills and decreasing also the energy consumption of those streetlights. Just to give you a quick little background, this hasn't been a really speedy program. This was started by the Executive Committee directing staff in December 2014 to begin developing this program and administering that with a couple of the program objectives that I mentioned earlier, reducing the city's energy usage and saving on your utility bills. Upwards of 60% is what we're seeing. Improvements to public safety with these newer, crisper lights, LED retrofits, and streetlight ownership can bring with them the ability to increase some of these smart city technologies, as you had heard actually in the previous presentation, as well as some revenue generating opportunities. Currently, where we're at right now, some of the recent activities in 2017, 2018, 11 jurisdictions have decided it feasible to move forward and are actually purchasing their streetlights from Southern California Edison. This is upwards of 55,000 streetlights. What we're supporting with as well is identifying the LED fixtures that can retrofit these 55,000 streetlights with, providing routine operations and maintenance and retrofit services to the region, to all interested jurisdictions. 2018, we're confirming the LED fixtures. That's why I'm here. And then we're going to move forward as a region, developing the retrofit schedules, acquiring these streetlights, and getting them these LED fixtures. So this is the regional status as of today. The little check marks, if you've seen our staff reports, the check marks are getting more filled out, which is great. I love being able to put that little check mark in there. Basically, where we're at is 11 cities have been approved by the state, by the California Public Utilities Commission, to purchase these streetlights back from Southern California Edison. The next step for these cities, for these jurisdictions, is really just deciding what pieces of the program you would like to use, the retrofit, the operations and maintenance, the financing, et cetera, taking that to council. The LED fixture selection. WRCOG, late last year in 2017, we released a request for proposals to identify all of the LED fixtures that are out there, the LED manufacturers that can provide services that have the capacity and the capability to provide LED fixtures that meet our region's standards. Our evaluation committee, which was made up of 9 representatives from a lot of your jurisdictions, recommended that the executive committee authorize General Electric and their local distributor, California Electric Supply, as their final recommendation. A couple of the reasons why. General Electric's products meet a lot of jurisdictional existing standards. Mount Palomar Observatory in San Diego County meets their recommendations, as well as the American Medical Association, some of their recommendations on LEDs as well. We also identified on the technical side that these products are 43% more cost effective than we currently anticipated, which I'll show you on the next slide. And these are about 61 to 69% more energy efficient than the current existing systems, which is great. And then also consistently meeting and exceeding each of the city's existing lighting standards. This picture on the right I really like, and I'm sure you've seen it many times. This is actually a picture from the city of Hemet in the demonstration area. This is actually a GE product, existing versus LED, kind of a before and after snapshot. This financial update, essentially what we've gone ahead and done, we've developed a financing feasibility model, and from the very beginning, 2015, 2016, 2017, we've added in estimate costs of LED retrofits given best practices across the region, inside and outside the region. And what we're finding now that we actually have proposals coming in, we're identifying that there's about a 43-48% decrease in a lot of these estimated costs, which just lends to additional savings for the region and the program. One thing I would like to mention is that the 20-year regional savings for something like this is $60 million over 20 years. That's after financing, after debt service, after LED retrofit costs, after operations and maintenance, net everything program, essentially. And the timeline, what we're looking at, we have provided this update to our city manager group in March, and we're here to move forward with the recommendation. And in May or June, we would come back with an executed contract for approval or decision. That said, this is our requested action, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions or comments? Seeing none. Oh. City Menifee?
Maybe that's it. I noticed on a slide you had here that Menifee was the only city that was halfway checked out. What's the problem with Menifee?
So there's no problem with Menifee, but where we were with the check boxes, about mid last year, Southern California Edison requested an amendment to the purchase and sales agreement, and we were in a weird position where we were actually going out to Menifee City Council right before that amendment came out, so that we weren't able to get the amendment included in the purchase and sales agreement. So we've been working with city council, legal counsel, to get the additional information included in the original agreement. We have since gone back last month and approved that amendment. So we are back on track. WRCOG will be, following along, making sure we catch the city of Menifee up to the remaining 12 jurisdictions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
City of San Jacinto?
Can you put your slideshow back up? And can you go back to? Okay. So you're telling me that the retrofit one-time cost, when we originally had talked, it was about $374 per pole, and now we're down to $212, and then the maintenance has dropped also 48%. That's a huge amount. Interest rate is a little higher, but that's a huge deal. Are you getting more people wanting to do this, or is there any more people that are able to do this?
I guess it's just really icing on the cake. Even at the $374 and $1.25 for the retrofit and O&M, it was making sense for a lot of jurisdictions. Now that we're entering into contracts with some of these providers and getting a much better price, it's just additional savings that will be realized at the jurisdictional levels.
I think this is absolutely amazing. I mean, when you came in and we did this at San Jacinto, I was absolutely thrilled that we finally convinced them that this is the way we need to go. But I will tell you, and I'll tell you the same thing I told them at our meeting, If you've ever gone into an area that has an Edison light, I don't care if you're a council member, the mayor, or what, it takes forever to get the darn thing repaired. You have to call over and over again. And so I am so excited to be able to go in and go, hey, we need this fixed, and then it'll be fixed, and we own it, and we know that the city lights are something that we stay on top of constantly. So I'm very excited about this program. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we do have a requested motion. Oh, I got to our screen here. It's been moved by the City of Wildemar, seconded by San Jacinto. Please vote.
Western Municipal Water District, please vote. Thank you.
Motion passed 22-0. Thank you. Next, if you did not get your revised agenda, item number E, the Beaumont Settlement Agreement is going back to the Admin and Finance Committee. So our next item is the Public Service Fellowship Program Activities Update. Cynthia?
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Cynthia Mejia, Staff Analyst with the Government Relations Department here at WRCOG. And the purpose of this item is simply to provide you an update of the Public Service Fellowship Program. As you may recall, the program was created in 2016 to combat the often mentioned brain drain that Riverside County often experiences when local university graduates leave the subregion after they graduate to secure full-time employment elsewhere. It was also created to fulfill the region's need for a robust public sector workforce. So the partnership, or the fellowship, is a partnership between WRCOG, our member jurisdictions, and 3 local universities, which include CBU, UCR, and now Cal State San Bernardino. Since the last time that I was up here, actually, our fellows were going through the program. They were about midway, and as of last Friday, our round 2 fellows are now finished with the program. Time flies. So we are now kind of working with and kicking off the next round. So we've launched an application. We've been working with our universities to receive applications for the next round. But for the last 8 to 9 months, the current fellows, which are about to graduate, have heard from a number of professionals in the region, including city managers, public safety heads. They've also undergone a Legislative 101 crash course. And to staff's knowledge to date, 3 of our current fellows have already been hired with their member agencies. 3 others have been hired outside of their host agencies, but still within our local public sector. And 3 others have been accepted into master's programs. All of the other ones are still currently actively seeking employment. So if you know of any openings, feel free to let us know. We do have a completion reception scheduled for April 19th, so that's about, 2 weeks away. That's directly after the TAC meeting. So if any of you are interested in attending, you are more than welcome to do so. Please let me know. A few other quick updates. Like I mentioned briefly earlier, we've extended the partnership to Cal State San Bernardino. They have a really good undergraduate and graduate public administration program that really services this subregion, so we thought it would be great to extend the program to them. We've also launched a new and improved application for the next round, as well as updated our interviewing procedures for the next round as well. We've collected member agency interest forms from all of our member jurisdictions, or all of the ones that are interested in requesting a fellow for the next round. So from now to about May, we will be interviewing and vetting the current applications that we have for the program, and in June, we will be circling back with our member jurisdictions with a list of potential candidates for their cities. And those are all of the updates I have for you today. It's definitely a bittersweet time. So our current fellows are leaving us, but it's an exciting time because they're either securing employment, going off to master's programs, and it's also exciting for the current applicants who are hoping to get accepted into this great program. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We do have questions. First, the City of San Jacinto, followed by Lake Elsinore.
San Jacinto has stepped away from the dais.
Her question was burning. Lake Elsinore.
I can't. It was really burning, huh? So I want to thank you for what you've done in the fellow. So it's not bittersweet for us because we're keeping our fellow.
That's right.
And so we're excited about it. And I just want to say this. She wasn't exactly what we wanted. She was an English major, but she's exactly what we needed in the 3rd district. So it worked out well, and we couldn't be happier. So thank you for your screening and all that you do.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments?
Sorry, I pushed the button.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much.
Of course,
we look
thank
forward
you.
to them all being employed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we do not have a report from our Technical Advisory Committee. Do we have any from our committee representatives? I know SCAG did not meet yet. We meet this week. AQMD?
Just a minor update. The item I brought up last month, the not reclaim. Sorry, Marion, what's the item we're bringing up? It's coming. Brain fart here, but anyhow, it's coming back again. We postponed it for 30 days, and we'll be bringing it back. It is the warehouse issues and other local entity or local operations that we'll be looking at potentially putting restrictions on them. So this could be a very big issue coming forward for our area. Our staff has been moving forward quite heavily on it, and we'll see where this all goes. But this is a recommendation at this point to whether or not to move forward on that.
Okay, thank you. CalCog?
Yes. So we had our quarterly meeting in March. So a couple things. The big thing they talked about was SB1 and supporting SB1. Whether you agree or disagree, it's important that we tell the story of what SB1 is doing for us. And as always within the state group, Riverside County in one way, whether it's WRCOG or our Riverside Transportation Commission, has led the way. And they posted on their website on how they're telling the story of what SB1 is doing. So if cities are interested in telling the story, please look at what our own transportation agency is doing and how they're telling the story. Again, whether you support tax increases or not, our roads and bridges and streets have to be fixed, and there's no mechanism to do it unless we do it. They also spent a lot of time, and one of the speakers that we had talked about telling stories. So, you know, if people stand in front of you and lecture, you listen for a couple seconds and it goes away, but if you tell a story, people will remember it. So make sure that we're telling the story. The other thing that we talked a lot about was emergency planning. I actually got to facilitate a group on that. And so during disasters, we always get excited about emergency planning, making sure our cities are prepared. Then, 6 weeks after the disaster, we forget all about it and we move on. So if you haven't, reach out to our emergency management department. They can help you in planning for your cities, but make sure that you're prepared for the next disaster. Smart cities, I think we've kind of talked about that with communication, some other things, but planning for the next smart cities is something that we should all be doing in our jurisdictions. Technology is going to come whether we want it or not. We can't plan like we're in the 70s anymore. We have to plan like we're going forward. Lake Elsinore is currently working on what we call a 2040 plan, and we sort of got that inspiration from Temecula, who had a 2030 plan. But the idea, it was the idea of moving forward, making sure that you kind of fill in those gaps and look at technology and look at other things that's going to be important to our city. We can't, like I said, if we don't plan, then we're going to be left behind. And those that haven't planned, well, there you go. A lot of bills are being supported. And so the best thing to do, so I don't have to waste time going down all of it, if you go to the CalCog website, you can look at all the list of bills that the CalCog is supporting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next, I have a report from our Executive Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things to report. First, our new website, or the website for Western Community Energy, is it online yet? It'll be online tomorrow, so I know you want to take a look at that. It's really, really well done. It's very basic and understandable, asks and answers a lot of questions that both the elected officials and your constituents have had with regard to what a CCA is, how it would operate, and how it would serve both your residents and businesses. In addition to that, We have been working on a number of very short videos that ask and answer the same questions. We hope to be able to release those on social media. We're actually hoping that at our next meeting that we'll actually be able to say that Western Community Energy is in fact operational. So we need a couple jurisdictions just to join and pull the trigger. It's open to all the jurisdictions, of course, that are interested. Barbara and I and staff are certainly available to meet with you individually, with your councils as a whole, members of your community. We're making the rounds with a number of the chambers of commerce so we can educate them as well. I should mention that our counterparts in the Coachella Valley, Desert Community Energy, I don't know if they stole our name and just put desert in there, but it's Desert Community Energy. We'll just assume they are operational. I think they have 3 jurisdictions in place, so they're a little bit ahead of us, so we're hoping that we can catch up. Next, we mentioned this last month. Chris has secured with the Contra Costa Transportation Authority a tour of their autonomous vehicle facility up north. That tour is scheduled for Friday, May 11th. We will be sending you detailed itineraries with regard to what that tour will encompass, and certainly you'll be able to see the advances that autonomous vehicles are making, and then certainly given the news in the last few weeks, you might be able to ask some questions about a few recent setbacks that have occurred and see how those things are being addressed as well. But I think the tour is open to, Chris, 40 individuals, and we're hoping that elected officials, your city managers, county executives, anybody who's interested and has a role in this very, very fast-moving technology can kind of get on top of it. So we'll provide more details, and we hope to fill the 40 slots with that tour. And then we also mentioned our General Assembly is set for June 21st, 2018. Once again, the Morongo Band of Mission Indians is going to be our gracious host, and it's been such an excellent relationship. We thank you for that. I think this is our 12th year in a row that we've had the event hosted by Morongo. Steve Forbes is our speaker. Jennifer informs me that sponsorships are coming in. Certainly, we have a table for each of our member jurisdictions, and you can start thinking about who's going to be seated at the table. So we're really looking forward to that event. Mark your calendars, Thursday, June 21st. And that concludes my remarks.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any items for future agendas? City of Beaumont?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to request that we get an update. I looked at our 2017 past zone 5-year transportation improvement program, and I'll give you the spreadsheet version that I was actually looking at. And I noticed that we need to actually update it with some of the amounts. There's we're negative considerably in fiscal year 17-18, and that rolls forward to a 9.7 million negative. And I think it's probably not including the $4.1 million that Beaumont just paid into this that would reduce that negative considerably, but still probably leave us in that position overall in the past. So I asked for an updated spreadsheet for that, and maybe updated spreadsheets could be on the agenda overall for the other zones. I don't know what the status of their spreadsheets are also, but I just know ours raised this particular question. Plus, I'd actually like to see any additional funding sources that may be coming in that would address that negative situation so that we can actually look at the impact of that carryover balance and what may or may not be in the future that could be done about that. So that was one thing that came to mind. And then as I got into this and I looked at this a little bit more, I'd like to have a discussion. It's a byproduct of me looking at this sheet, but it's not directly related to the spreadsheet question. And that is, could we put on the agenda at some time in the future, what is the process for doing a zone area meeting, specific meeting? Who should be in attendance? Is an agenda put up for that? Are attorneys present? How does the public, or should the public be involved in any of that? When we're making these decisions of such great magnitude, I'm not sure what the policy and the process is for it, and I know we all are very sensitive to transparency and clarity. So I'd really like to see what the policy is on that.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll address that with staff. Are there any other items? I'd like to ask, I went to, and I know a couple other people attended the session on communications that was put on by WRCOG and the League of Cities, and it was very informative, and I thought that might be a good presentation for us to see the different ways to communicate with the community that were presented by the Pepperdine School of Public Policy. Next, we have general announcements, and I know San Jacinto is interested.
I do have to tell you, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that San Jacinto is the oldest city in Riverside County. And so on Thursday at 7 o'clock at Saboba Country Club, we're going to be having a cocktail party and celebrating the 130th anniversary. If you're around, if you're available, please come. You can text me or you can let City Hall know so that we can make sure that we get you in and get it taken care of. But I really would love to see you there. It's really an exciting time.
Okay, thank you. City of Calamasa, followed by Hemet.
Yeah, I'd like to invite all of you to our grand opening for our new fire department. It's not 130 years old, but it's going on 3 months old now, and it's going to be on Saturday the 14th between 10 and 2. It'll be at City Hall. We're going to close down our street in front of our City Hall. That's half the city. And you're all invited, and come out and see what you can do. I think we're going to have tri-tip too, barbecue. So, all right. So come on out. It'll be fun. Be a lot of people out there. Thanks.
Okay, City of Hemet.
Well, it's time again for California's official outdoor play, Ramona. 95 years. Of course, it's 3 weekends. It starts April 21st and 22nd, 28th and 29th, and May 5th and 6th. I have some complimentary tickets here. If you're interested, please let me know, and I hope to see you there.
City of Moreno Valley.
Okay. I'd like to invite everyone to our public safety expo on April 14th at 10 o'clock. And it's our chance to show off the bravest police officers, firefighters. So please come down, bring the family. We'll have our canines, and it's just a great event, and the kids love it. You get to get on the fire trucks, police cars, helicopters, our command center. It's really a great event, and each year it just grows and grows. So please be there Saturday, April 14th. See you there, Marion. See you there. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have City of Lake Elsinore.
Thank you, Chair. So I didn't want to address that Otis City thing, but I think Riverside City is the Otis, and I think Lake Elsinore is right behind it. You might want to check some history.
No, you're a few months behind us.
Okay. But on a separate note, we'll put that on the next agenda. On a serious note, we need to support our kids that have responded to the Florida shooting, and the City of Lake Elsinore, Wildomar, and Canyon Lake, who all make up the Lake Elsinore Unified School District, is going to be holding a meeting with the Sheriff's Department and others to see how we can better protect our kids. So I think that's an important issue, and I think we should all look at how we can better protect our kids and support our school districts. Storm Baseball kicks off. We have our opening night, April 12th. So unless you have a stadium in this county, there's only one, Lake Elsinore. You might want to join us April 12th. And then on a fun note, again, I want to thank the City of Temecula for hosting the Reality Rally. They do a great job of hosting. They don't do a good job of participating, however. So I just want to remind folks that it's on May 5th. Several cities participate: Paris, Menifee, Wildomar, and Temecula, and You haven't participated yet. I'm not calling anybody out. I do want to say that the 3rd District has now formed a team. They have this big hulking creature on there to beat Lake Elsinore, so we'll see how that plays out. But again, Reality Rally is May 5th. It's about fun, but it's also about a good cause, supporting Michelle's place that supports people with breast cancer. So please come out and join us. Lake Elsinore likes to win, but we also like to support a good cause. And we've only won 6 years in a row. So with that, thank you. It is what it is.
Well, picking up on the theme about emergency preparedness, I think everybody has the flyer of Banning's 12th Annual Disaster Preparedness Expo. We do have some nice speakers. Dr. Lucy Jones is coming back for the 2nd time, and she will be signing her new book that is actually going to be released, I believe, April the 12th. And we'll have Glenn Pomeroy from the California Earthquake Authority, as well as the county's EMD department, and Team Rubicon, which I'd never heard of before, but they actually go around the world videotaping various disasters. So they're going to give us some previews of some of the things that they do. So with that, I'll turn it over now to our attorney for our closed session.
Yes, we do have one closed session item, which is on the agenda. Initiation of litigation. We're going to ask the board members to come down to the audience. We'll ask anybody in the audience who is not a board member or here for this to exit the facility. And this is a TUMF matter, so the water districts and the state superintendent of schools will not be participating. Thanks.
Do we need to adjourn?
Thank you so much.